feels like you're going like 50 miles an hour on a speedway or something like that. It's that kind of thrill seeking that I guess keeps me going.
And you don't care how do you land or whatever happens afterwards, you just go really high.
Super fun, super exciting.
You're out on the wave and nothing else matters.
It's a hard job, but when the time comes and you have that green pass and that perfect setup, then you just try to launch it as hard as you can and hopefully get the biggest trick in your life.
And in the end, you just give high five to your friends. How did you enjoy it?
The 26-year-old kayak freestyle world champion Nick Troutman from Canada and his friends. 28-year-old Mat Dumoulin from France. Two-time European champion 27-year-old Gerd Serrasolses from Spain. And 29-year-old Slovakian Peter Csonka, two-time European champion and three-time runner-up in the World Championships, are all traveling the world in search of the perfect wave. All four are members of the Adidas Sickline kayak team. In winter, they flee the cold and travel to the White Nile in Uganda. In summer, they surf the magical tidal wave Skookumchuck on the west coast of Canada. But the highlight of the trip comes with the huge river waves in Quebec. They continually push themselves and their sport into new dimensions, and in doing so, seem to defy the laws of gravity with their moves. Their motto? Go big or go home.
Oh! I think I might go big.
For me, go big or go home means that we are on a huge wave, surfing a huge wave, and you suck and go home, or you just pump it and you fly really high.
So we're traveling around trying to find the biggest waves that we can in hopes to get the biggest max possible air.
You know, when you're on the wave, it goes fast, super quick, it's powerful. You don't have much time to think, so you either go big or go home.
So yeah, you're getting in your boat, you're putting your skirt on, you look out and you just see this monster of a river in front of you, huge amounts of water, crazy flow, super fast. You launch into the water, you're now in the eddy and it's kind of like this no return. Now you're about to peel out into the flow, drop into this huge beast and just hope to catch it. You drop in, you're on the wave and you're just skipping down like a stone, skipping across the water, fully out of control. Get to the top of the wave and you just see this huge runway in front of you and you just launch off, get huge amounts of air and everything just slows down for a second and it almost feels like time has stopped.
So most of the people, they know canoeing or kayaking, and we're doing the kayak freestyle, which is not really well known in the world.
Freestyle kayaking is very similar to surfing. We use kayaks instead of boards, and we surf stationary river waves, which are formed in the middle of rapids.
In freestyle kayaking, we use very small whitewater kayaks. We go down rivers and we find these specific features that create waves, and we surf those waves and make tricks in them. Front flips, screws, rolls, every kind of rotation.
Freestyle kayaking to me is really a lot of fun because you get to go to some different destinations, and so you get to kind of travel the world in search of these big waves.
So freestyle kayaking has, for me, the best mix of performance and fun. We use those big waves, big features, surf them, gives us a lot of speed. We use our edges and the hull of the kayak to jump on all the different bubbles that come to us, jump in the air, do those crazy rotations and land them in a wave.
It's really hard to have the time to like set up and think about throwing a trick because you're like already focused on staying on the wave and on surfing it. And you start flying and bouncing on the wave. The hull of the boat just like pressing against the water. You can feel the plastic just like flexing and absorbing all that powerful water underneath you and bouncing hard. That goes into your back too. You're like, your lower back muscles kind of get a little sore.
It's very demanding in terms of athletic performances, and it's very technical. So you have to train, you have to figure out some very specific techniques to manage to get higher, do more rotations, and you have to make sure that nothing else is on your mind when you drop in the wave, because the river and the feature creates a very complex surrounding, and you have to just sum it up in one idea in your mind, which is the trick you're gonna throw.
One of my favorite tricks is the air screw. You're gonna come down the wave, skip and get as much air as possible and try and throw an aerial barrel roll like a kickflip on a skateboard or something like that, and then land back down on your hull and stay surfing the wave. It's just, I don't know, one of my favorite tricks and one of the coolest feelings, and yeah, I just love doing them.
On this trip, I definitely have a new favorite move. I don't know how is it called. It's the way you jump and you just go and land on your back and in straight the boat back again. And it's the most funny thing to do.
There's different aspects of kayaking, and even freestyle itself, there's different aspects. You can go out and just have a freestyle session. You're going and just trying to mess around, do whatever you want to do, maybe try some new moves or some combos, just try to get the biggest air possible.
On the free session, you just go out there and it's more of an expression session. In a free session, you don't really care, you just want to give people emotion.
And then there's the more competitive side of things where you're doing actual freestyle competitions.
We all obviously competitive people, and we like to compete too.
There's a lot of spectators, there's judges.
The competing part obviously has rules to create a ranking.
The way that works is you get either 45 seconds or a minute depending on the competition.
And you have to do as many acrobatics moves as possible.
Each trick has a score to it, so the harder the move, the more points it's worth. And then you also have bonuses for how big you go or if you linked some moves together. So there's definitely variable levels of competitions where you've got more grassroots levels, kind of a lot of friends getting together. And then you've got different stages, so all the way up to a super professional ICF World Championships or World Cup event where they've got the big screen TVs, a lot of media, big stands and spectators.
I used to coach and help young kayakers as much as I can, because I obviously want them to find the passion I have in my life in there, and I hope they can find this incredible motivation that kayaking brings me.
Year for year, when winter freezes the rivers of the Northern Hemisphere, Uganda becomes a mecca for freestyle kayakers. The mighty waves of the White Nile are the perfect training ground for the athletes.
There is not much to do in winter in Slovakia, because the whitewater course is closed. The rivers are frozen and there is lots of snow, and we still want a kayak.
Yeah, Uganda for me is just a perfect winter destination spot for kayaking.
Uganda is one of those places that I would have never had the chance to know without kayaking. It's always hard to kayak all year because we're always dependent on the weather and water levels. Uganda is a great winter destination for us because the White Nile flows from Victoria Lake, so it has a constant flow. You know what you're gonna get. Going to a country like Uganda is always a big mind opener because people live in such a different way there. We go far in the backcountry, the villages around the island where we stay and where the freestyle feature is. Those villages have maybe a couple of hundreds of people and they live off their agriculture.
First time I went to Uganda was like an expedition for us, because it's a nice country, it's really exotic.
It's warm, there's warm water, big water, perfect waves.
It makes training look a lot like holidays.
So probably the best place to kayak on the waves and train on the waves during the winter time.
Between Vancouver Island and the mainland on the west coast of British Columbia lies the magical Skookumchuck tidal wave. It's the ideal wave for perfecting the various tricks in freestyle kayaking.
The Skookumchuck wave is a tidal wave. When the ocean comes into the bay, it surges in with the tides, and there's a rock shelf here, and so it's formed when the tide is going in, and then when the ebb comes back, then the wave changes again and it goes down into nothing.
It is definitely one of the most beautiful waves in the world to surf. Just, I guess, the fact that the ocean creates it and not a river just gives it a special style. We've all seen this wave in magazines and videos since we're very young.
When I first saw the pictures, it was really long time ago. So when I was so young and I was like, this is my dream to go there.
It's the symbol of what's a big, super clean waves, perfect shape, but also very big and thrilling.
It's just super wide and glassy and big and smooth and just looks like one of the most perfect waves ever.
So first of all, the good thing about this place is that it's very predictable.
For Skook, you have a year already set up chart, so you're gonna know which days of the year it's gonna work in advance, and you can plan your trip.
You can look at the tides on the internet and you know which day, at what hour, the wave's gonna be in.
So one of the good things about Skook as well is that it is not like any other play spot where you park and go play and then drive back to your house. To get here, you either have to paddle in for a while or hike in, and that makes this place really special and quiet.
So what we did is that the first day we came with our kayaks on the water, then we left them here and then we walked back to our campsite, back and forth every day.
Hiking in is actually, we get to hike in through this gorgeous forest. It's a provincial park actually here in British Columbia.
And at first you're like walking into this thick forest and you have your
you have a little bit of fear coming and you're like, oh, this is not an environment I know. I'm not from Canada. I don't know what's living in this place.
It almost looks like you're walking through Jurassic Park or something incredible like that. And it's just amazing. We're on the coast, so everything's kind of damp and you've got all this moss all over the trees and the rocks.
People come here just to enjoy the scenery and the place and the wildlife. So we just have the kayaking on top of it.
So the difference between an ocean wave and a river wave is in the ocean, the current's coming in and the wave builds up, and eventually gets taller and then crashes over and kind of makes these kind of curling waves that everybody sees in the ocean and you surf. The river waves are a little bit different. The river has constant current and the rocks are constant, so you're creating these waves that are a static wave. They don't move anywhere. Skookumchuck is a little bit of a mixture of the two. Even though it's a static wave and the wave isn't moving anywhere, the wave is constantly building and changing shape the whole time. And then once you hit peak flow, then you go back down, and so then the wave changes again on the downward flow. You've got ocean waves and you've got river waves, and Skook is really this kind of mix of the two, which makes it really unique for sure.
Yeah, surfing Skook is one of the most amazing feelings anyone can ever experience on a kayak.
You've got this amazing raw power of the tide underneath the hull of your kayak, and there's just this speed and glassy feeling, and I don't know, kind of like the Beauty and the Beast type thing where you've got a lot of power, but it's also super calm and smooth at the same time.
It's like the best way to try the moves and to learn the moves and to progress in your freestyle kayaking.
Being able to do something and get yourself in this wave, it gives you this amazing feeling of being part of nature and use an element that's so powerful. It's bigger than us.
In spring, Quebec becomes the mecca for freestyle kayakers. The snowmelt creates countless monster waves on the already mighty rivers. Those who paddle here must be prepared to go to their physical and mental limits and beyond.
The first wave we paddled in Quebec is called Detonator. That gives you an idea of the size of the wave.
You would probably look at it as a terrible place, but for us it's a bit of a heaven.
And a bit scary.
Just make it to the wave is so much harder than in any other feature. You have to face the upstream of the river to ferry across this first stream and reach the wave.
Detonator is just one of these massive waves that's really tricky to surf. It's really hard to actually get on the wave in the first place, and then once you finally get on, it's just so powerful and constantly changing that it's like the wave itself is moving, it's building, it's crashing, building and crashing, and just so powerful. It's throwing you all over the place and really, really difficult to surf.
There was one time this thing just crashed on me and crashed on my face, and I couldn't breathe for a while.
Yeah, for sure, Detonator can be a little frustrating. I think I had over an hour of not even catching the wave once. And it kind of like your spirits start to drop when you miss the wave time and time and time again.
Sometimes we call it like a surviving surfing, because you never know what's happening.
And every trick is very hard to throw. And surfing it is it's rewarding itself.
But then you get on the wave once and you instantly get that high again. You're just like, oh!
But in the end, it was so cool. It was one of the life experiences.
And you boys excited?
Oh yeah.
And we went to the not really known wave called Molly. It's in the middle of nowhere.
To get there, we had to ask explanations to local people about where to go, and I mean, you never had directions like this. It's like kilometer 55 on the gravel road, turn left. Maybe the first turn you took was wrong, and all the next ones you'll just be messing around in the forest, but you're never gonna get to the wave.
The car was really dirty and all the gear was super dirty, and we just came there and watched down from the bridge, and there was this huge, awesomely shaped standing wave.
For us, the whole atmosphere at Molly was just like a perfect setup.
There's a huge, huge pool, and there's a super nice island right in the middle of the pool. So the wave is so good, you can just stay in the wave forever and like just throw one trick after the other.
You're able to do a little bit more, more kind of tricks and add a little bit more style, maybe some grabs.
And I guess it was one of the best waves I ever surfed. And we had this big campfire and enjoying all the time sitting there. It was so nice. The highlight of the trip was the wave called Black Mess. From the name, it's already, you know, big, black.
Black Mass is like the most complete wave we found. There's a huge rapid on top of it, then you have the wave, and then you have the run out of the rapid.
Just going there for an hour wouldn't make sense, because trying to reach the wave one time takes you about 15 minutes. So you fell and keep on trying hard for the whole day. But I mean, it's just so rewarding. This wave is perfect.
But you pay the price as well. So you've got to run this river, you've got to run the rapid, and when you flush off, you've got a big rapid below still. So it's kind of this, it keeps you on your game for sure. It's not just an easy wave like Molly where it kind of keeps you on your toes, keeps you excited the whole time because you're in the middle of this rapid, and yeah, you've got to stay focused.
At some point we were feeling like those little scientific experience rats, you know, that you give them a little drug and they keep on doing this over and over again, and then they just like, you know, it's automatic in your mind. You just like, maybe you hike up, you feel the tiredness, but the excitement get back in your mind when you see the wave on the hike up. So obviously you go for maybe a last ride, go there, miss the wave, hike back up, tired, more tired again. Hike back up, see the wave, little excitement, get back in the boat, go surf it again, finally get a trick, get all this adrenaline back, all the level of adrenaline back up. You can just go over and over again for hours like that.
So you go to these perfect spots and these like amazing waves, and as soon as you get that taste of the airtime and the tricks and how smooth the wave is and the surf all together, makes you want to come back time and time again for sure.
The quest for the perfect wave goes on. Next year, once again, the paddlers will continue their mission to go big or go home.